Hello. This is part 4 of Introduction to Spirit. In part 3 I talked about the different emotions, the 5 emotions from Chinese medicine, joy, sympathy, grief, fear and anger, and how they cause vibrations in consciousness, which is the energy of the soul. The soul is pure consciousness. Consciousness is, in a sense, it's the paper that thoughts are written on. It's very easy to confuse consciousness with the thinking process, but the two things are not the same. As I've told you many times, I've been doing meditation for over 30 years. And what I experience when I get into a very relaxed state is I experience myself, inside my physical body. My eyes are closed. And I experience myself in my chakras. And as I rise through the chakras, I can hear the sound of consciousness, which is the closest thing I can liken it to is if you listen to waves crashing on a pebble beach and they come in with a kind of and then they go shh. It's that shh. It's in the inside. I've been hearing this sound for some time when I transcend, when I do my meditation. And I was talking to my teacher that taught me to meditate and asked him what I should do with it. And he said, don't know. He said, pay attention to it. So I've been paying attention to it. And I started a dialogue with this inner mind, this consciousness. And I asked it, what exactly are you? And the mind answered straight away, I am your knowing mind. Your knowing mind. And I thought, well, that's interesting. Well, when we have a theory about things, it's a theory. And normally when we have a theory, we engage in a dialogue. We say, well, if this is true and this is true and this is true, then that follows. And we arrive at conclusions based on a kind of rational process. It's like building bricks or building connections. So one thought leads to another thought. But as Robert Pirsig pointed out in Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance, it's remarkable that we synthesize theories and they actually turn out to be right. Out of the myriad of millions of other theories, we seem to come up with the right theory. I think he's alluring to the concept of the knowing mind. So when somebody starts to explain something to you, if it doesn't feel right, you say, oh, wait a minute, that's not right. I don't know why. And then your rational process kicks in and you start to take apart what they're saying, and then you realize that there's contradictions. But before you've actually done it piece by piece using the rational building process, there was a bit of you that already knew that this was wrong, that the theory wasn't right. And it's also, in Course in Miracles, we talk about listening to the Holy Spirit. And it says in the Course that the ego always shouts loudest, the ego always shouts first. But when the ego's not shouting, what's left is the knowing mind. So if I ask you, are you happy? You might say, oh, well, I've just been on holiday and I bought a new car and I've got a good job. So yeah, I must be happy. That's the rational mind. That's the ego. The ego is telling you based on external circumstances, you should be, or you might be, or you ought to be. But if you're in a quiet place and I simply said, are you happy? If you're not happy, you'd say, no, I'm not. And you wouldn't try and rationalize it. You wouldn't use ego cleverness to camouflage. And this is the state that all of us are in all of our lives. We're jumping between our knowing mind and our ego mind. And our ego mind's trying to tell us that we're the best, that we're clever, that we're strong, that we're undefeatable, or that, you know, it's dangerous and we should be scared, and so on. And right in the background is this silent mind And it's the mind that knows, and it's the mind that informed me when I was given knowledge at the age of 42. It informed me that I'm actually not this physical body, I'm not this personality, I'm actually consciousness which is immortal, that I've actually had several lifetimes before this. In fact, I'm told by my knowing mind I've had over 400. And in those experiences, I've played different people. You know, I've been John and Paul and Peter and Susan and Elaine and Rita and whatever. So if I am the consciousness that makes these journeys, what is my true name? Well, my true name is actually life or consciousness or prana or whatever you want to call it. In the receiving knowledge video, I realised that I am God, but the problem is that in saying the word G-O-D, so many people make assumptions because they think they know what that means, but the reality is it is beyond knowing. So we are just the it, we are the consciousness. So when we're very quiet, we can listen to our knowing mind, and I think this is what the Course in Miracles and yoga and transcendental meditation and many other spiritual practices help us to do. They get us to still the mind and go into the subtle mind, which is the knowing mind. So one of the passages I love in Course in Miracles is that you will be happy when you follow your purpose, and you will know it is your purpose because you will be happy. And the reason why those things are consistent is because happiness is your purpose. But we live in a world where we're taught that happiness is not our purpose. I mean, at the moment in the UK, we have a government that tell people they don't actually deserve food or a roof over their head unless they work, unless they produce something and make some kind of contribution. And that includes people that are retired. They're saying they'd like people to go fruit picking for nothing. People on pensions, the sick, they're being told that they're scroungers, and this is pure ego thinking. It comes from nowhere else but the ego. God did not create us to toil and labour every day and struggle. God did not create us to suffer. If God created us to suffer, knowing that God made us out of God, there is no possibility that our purpose is to suffer. The churches, I think, have really twisted things, because from the knowing mind, it is obvious that our true purpose is to be. And we're not higher or lower. We're just it. And we are everywhere. And everyone has the knowing mind in them. I like the heart chakra name Anahata, and I ask myself, do I know it with my heart or do I think it with my head? Because my head is where Satan lives. My head is where the ego is. My head is where the illusion creator lives. And this is the smoke screen from Buddhism and Hinduism. It's called Maya. It simply means fog or illusion. So the nature of true soul is actually divine intelligence. It's pure intelligence, and you can contact it when you're most still, when you're quiet. And there's a quote from the Bible where Jesus is reported to have said, "Be still and know that I am God." To me, it's clearly a reference to some meditative process, because in the stillness, your knowing mind would speak to you, and in your own stillness, you would know that this other human being is divine. This other human being is a divine creation. In fact, everyone that you meet is a divine creation. We're not just these atoms, this physical body that is a kind of glove puppet that the soul wears. I think I've said enough today. Thank you for listening. May your source go with you.